Don't worry, Kyle Shanahan. I can help you beat the Seattle Seahawks. What's up? Welcome to a very special playoff edition of Quality Control. I'm the quality control guy, Grant Cohn. The 49ers are in the division round of the playoffs, and they're facing their nemesis, the Seattle Seahawks, who really whooped them up last time they faced. As you guys remember, it was a week and a half. And I mean, the Niners lost that game for a lot of reasons, not as talented as the Seahawks, but it was mostly a failure of quality control. And so I want to take full responsibility for that and fix that this time around. I'm going to help the 49ers beat the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to help them beat the Seattle Seahawks too. I'm going to help them beat themselves first, and then I'm going to help them beat the Seattle Seahawks because I do it all for free. That's what I do. So I have two game plans, one for Saleh, one for Shanahan. They owe me a nickel. But first, should we talk about the news of the day? Fred Warner, 1 week away from coming back. The 49ers officially started his practice window. He didn't practice today. There was no practice today. Practice tomorrow. I will get incredible footage of him running around. But this is a big deal. He mangled his ankle like 2 months ago. What was it, 3 months ago? And now it seems like he says he could play in this game. Part of me feels like rest up and come back at 100% because Eric Kendricks and Garrett Wallow played so well. Do you really need him? I mean, if he's not in football shape and he's not 100% healthy, it'd be great to have him in the huddle and have him on the sideline, but I wouldn't rush him back, especially with the 49ers history of injuries. And I mean, they have so many injury problems. We're actually talking about electrical substations and stuff like that. So if any team needs to be careful, it's the 49ers with Fred Warner. But it seems like he's pressing the issue, and he's such an incredible athlete that they may actually clear him. So that's great news. If they were to get to the NFC Championship game, theoretically, he would give them a better chance to win it. But they have to beat the Seattle Seahawks without him. And that's going to be pretty tough. They beat the Seahawks with him, and then they lost without him. But they held the Seahawks to 13 points in both games. So maybe what the Niners need to do better is, maybe they need to have a better plan on offense. Maybe as great as Fred Warner is, they can win this game without him. He was in the locker room today. He was jogging around on the field last week. I'm a little skeptical that he's going to come back. It kind of feels like an older athlete who's a little insecure and is reminding people that he has his job and that it's not going to get taken from him, which I respect. I mean, that's kind of like how Tom Brady was his whole life. Like, hey, I'm a former mid to late round pick and I don't take anything for granted. But if he actually pulls it off, it'll make him one of like the most legendary linebackers of all time at 49ers of all time, if he isn't already. So I guess that was the news today. Although, to me, I came in to work today prepared to talk about and ask about Garrett Wallow and Eric Kendricks. I thought they were the story of the week. And instead, all the questions were about Fred Warner, which is fair. But he's not even coming back till next week. So it's kind of like a non-story. And there's no guarantee he comes back next week either. They said they might activate him next week. So we'll see how he looks in practice this week. But Gojira Von Jinx says, happy birthday, better gift, Tomlin or Warner news. The Tomlin thing's interesting. I was looking at that. I made a TikTok right after Tomlin resigned saying, boom, this is where Saleh's going to go. I think he'd be a great fit there, but I don't have any inside information about it. And the more I think about it, the more I think they're not going to hire Saleh. Well, they've had like 3 head coaches in the last 50-something years. Each guy was a defensive coach, so Saleh checks that box. But none of them were retreads, to use a derogatory term. None of them had been head coaches before. Not Mike Tomlin, not Bill Cowher, not Chuck Noll. So it's possible. I mean, if they're going to stick to what they've done in the past, they're going to hire a defensive coordinator who's younger than Saleh, who hasn't been a head coach anywhere else. I mean, they want the guy to be the head coach for their team for 15 to 20 years. So instead of hiring someone who's 45, maybe they'll hire someone who's 30 or 35. Maybe it'll be the defensive coordinator from the Chargers. I mean, I have no idea who it'll be, but I'm starting to think that maybe that's not the one for Saleh. And how good of a job is that, really? They have some players on defense, but they don't have a good defense. They have no quarterback. They don't have a high draft pick. Might not be the best job. You have job security, though, theoretically. Aztec says, Googled Seattle grunge outfit. This podcast came up. Thanks. Well, I'm going to Seattle in a few days, and I want to be able to, like, blend in and, you know, act like it's my natural habitat. Let's talk about this. My dad brought it up. The Niners kind of got screwed this week. They have 6 days to rest and prepare for this game. The Seahawks have 15. The Niners and Seahawks played on a Saturday, right? Am I wrong about that? No, I played on a Saturday. Then the Niners had 8 days to prepare for the Eagles. The Seahawks have had 15 days to prepare for this game. Now the Niners only have 6. Meanwhile, the Rams and Bears both have full weeks to prepare for their games. So it's not fair. It's not fair. The Niners got the short end of the stick. 2 questions. Should there be more fairness in the NFL? And 2, does the NFL have it out for the 49ers? Let's go one by one. If the NFL truly cared about fairness above all else, every game, every week would be played at the same time, in the same place, with the same weather conditions. There'd be 16 stadiums or fields in Kansas or South Dakota or Nebraska, all side by side, and all the teams would play simultaneously so that no team had the home field advantage and no team had the rest advantage. And there would be, but that's not how sports are. What determines when these teams play? Television networks. Why are the Niners playing on Saturday instead of Sunday? Because the Niners are playing the number 1 seed. And for typically, these networks are choosing which games they want when. And usually they want the number 1 seed on Saturday. That's how it's been. The Niners have benefited from that. They've been the number 1 seed a few times. They played on Saturday against teams that had like 6 days rest. Is it fair? Absolutely not. Do they care? Absolutely not. And that's why, like, these things, they come around. Does it hurt the Niners this time? Yeah. Have they benefited from it in the past? Yeah. Will they benefit from it again in the future? Yes, unless all of a sudden the NFL decides fairness is more important than appeasing the networks that spend millions and billions of dollars on the rights. I'm just saying. It's how it works. So the way the Niners could have had more rest would have been to beat the Seahawks, which was, only needed to score 14 points. But they couldn't. So now they have this hurdle. But the other thing I asked was, do we really think the NFL hates the Niners and has it in for the Niners and somehow wants the Niners out of the playoffs? That I don't believe. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. The team, I think that, like, if we're going to go down this conspiracy theory rabbit hole, which I think everyone was doing last year, right? I mean, everyone talked about how the NFL was sort of propping up the Chiefs. That was mainstream conversation. I heard it all over the place. And then this year, all of a sudden, the Chiefs didn't get the calls. They missed the playoffs. And you really think the NFL isn't? If you thought they were doing that with the Chiefs, you think they don't do that anymore? Okay, so if there's a team the NFL wouldn't have wanted in the playoffs anymore, it was Philly, because they're objectively unpopular. No one maybe their own fans like watching that, but like people generally don't like watching the Philadelphia Eagles. Their offense is boring. It's not explosive. Drew Brees has talked. I mean, it's the tush push is not fun to watch. The league is actively trying to ban the play. They have a new vote every 6 months and it doesn't pass. And like, come on, why don't we vote again? So them out of the playoffs is not a bad thing for the league. What is a bad thing for the league is no Lamar, no Joe Burrow, no Patrick Mahomes. And I think a nightmare for the league is Sam Darnold and CJ Stroud in the Super Bowl. Absolute nightmare. So I just don't think the Niners are going to get the short end of the stick here. I mean, last week we were talking about how the NFL assigned a referee, an official, to the Niners-Eagles games who grew up in the Philly area and how that wasn't fair. Uh-huh. Yeah. Like the fix was in for the Eagles. Sure. How many penalties were called on the Niners in this game? One. The Niners are the darlings of the league, man. I don't really talk about calls much, but the Niners, one of the main reasons they won this game was penalties. Forget the ones that the Niners, I mean, the touchdown at the very end, you watch the play, it kind of looked like Trent Williams held Nolan Smith. I mean, Niner fans, you've been talking about the holding call that wasn't called on Nick Bosa for the last 6 years. 6 years. And then was the one that killed me the most was that that all came down to that final drive. The Niners, who the league hates, they're driving down. Jalen Carter finally does something and sacks Brock Purdy. Hold on, I have it written down right here. It's 2nd and 6 from the Eagles 25. The Niners are down 2. So field goal still gives them the lead. 2nd and 6 from the 25. Purdy gets sacked. This would have put him at like 3rd and 12, which they could have converted, but would have been tougher. But Reed Blankenship is called for holding Jake Tunges. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL, I'm not going down conspiracy theory road here. I just wouldn't be surprised if the Niners commit 1 or 2 penalties in this game against the Seahawks. That somehow this disadvantage evens out. Oh, they had 15 days to prepare and you had 6? Okay, well, they have 8 penalties and you have 1. Didn't it seem fishy? Didn't it seem like the NFL got the team that they wanted to win? I'm not saying that the Niners shouldn't have beaten the Eagles. I don't think the Niners needed help to beat the Eagles. They probably would have converted that 3rd and 12 if there hadn't been holding on Jake Tunges. But you're telling me that the Niners offensive line didn't hold the Eagles defensive line one time? The Niners offensive line is just that good? Since when? So look, Niner fans, what I'm trying to say is buck up. Things are breaking your way this year. Let's talk about, how about this? Which Super Bowl matchup do you think the networks would want? Not that they can control this, but if they had it their ways, the networks, whichever network is broadcasting the Super Bowl this year, who do you think they would want? For years, it's been Patrick Mahomes. He's a draw. You love him. You hate him. He's polarizing. He's an all-time great, putting himself in Tom Brady, Joe Montana conversation. People want to watch that. He's out. Lamar's out. I feel like, the matchup they wouldn't want? I brought it up before. Houston and Seattle. That seems like an all-time nightmare matchup for the league because it's not like a great defense against a great offense. That's always a great matchup for the casual public. Great defense against great defense, mid-quarterback against mid-quarterback to be nice. A potential 9-6 Super Bowl. Oh my God, might put the league out of business. I think it'd be good for football. Remind people that it's not all about quarterbacks and fantasy football and actual defense. That'd be kind of cool, but I don't think that's what these networks want. In the AFC, I bet they want Josh Allen. How about that? A star? It ain't going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm guessing they would love Buffalo to be in the Super Bowl. Bo Nix and the Broncos, I don't think that moves the needle. Drake May and the Patriots, maybe. Houston and CJ Stroud, that's who I'm pulling for. I want the Super Bowl to have the worst ratings possible. I want CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans in the Super Bowl. And then the NFC, I just feel like the Seahawks are worst case scenario for the league. I mean, you can't market Sam Darnold to middle America. Everyone knows Sam Darnold. Everyone sees Sam Darnold just trying his best not to embarrass himself at this point. No disrespect, but like he's not doing a whole lot. So then you got the Rams who are interesting, but the Rams don't have a fan base. And I wonder, like, you could argue if you're going real conspiracy theorist that like once the Rams moved down to LA, that the league was really much trying to boost them up to like kickstart fan interest in LA in the new market. It didn't work. It's never gonna work. I lived in LA. People that live in LA generally aren't from LA, and the ones that are just it's not a football city. When the Rams play the Niners, maybe people in LA care, but when the Rams play the Arizona Cardinals, no one cares. Not Cardinals fans, not Rams fans, because they don't exist. So to me, it's either the Niners that the network would want. I mean, the Niners are a good story. They Brock Purdy's a great story. Kyle Shanahan, people know him. There's a lot of I mean, George Kittle isn't there anymore, but there's still and this season is such an incredible story, right? Because all the adversity, all the injuries, and the substation. Think they'll get a shout out for the substation if they go to the Super Bowl. But then the Bears are a good story too. And the thing about the Bears is like they're new. The quarterback is young. The head coach is new. It's a bigger market than the Bay, and they haven't been good in such a long time. So it kind of feels like a frenzy. And maybe you got to worry if the Niners make it to the NFC Championship game and got to go to Chicago, because how many teams have gotten more breaks than the Niners this year? Maybe Chicago. I mean, they're losing by 10 with 30 seconds to go at the end of every game, and then they win. I don't know. I don't really know how they do it, but Caleb Williams is just perfect. Like he's kind of like the new Patrick Mahomes in the sense that some people love him, some people hate him. He's kind of unorthodox. He gets outside the pocket and has some really exciting plays, but then does things that make you pull your hair out. Now, Mahomes is much better, but still, Mahomes is out. Maybe you could do like Timu Mahomes. I'm just trying to think like NBC or whoever's broadcasting this. Again, all I wanted to do to bring is to point out that you're not the Raiders. All right. I grew up in Oakland with Raider fans who sincerely believe that the NFL had it out to get them. And after 9/11, I don't know, maybe. Like your whole brand is built on like I'm not going to say the word. It starts with a T. That's not the Niners. You guys have been the darlings of the league forever. And every time you get a situation where it looks like the league's screwing you over, I just makes me feel like they're probably going to hook you up. So, Seattle, be nervous. 6 days of rest for the 49ers. Man, get ready for them to commit -4 penalties in this game. Did anyone else think that was kind of like fishy? The Niners didn't commit 1 penalty against the Eagles? I mean, it was one. It was one. Who did it? Who was the one guy? Please ask Solid a blitz plant Sam first play, says Aztec. I'll get to that. Robert Slavin says Sam Darnold will choke, though 2 picks, nerves. Brock won't. Brock's the one throwing picks. He threw 2 last game. He threw 1 against the Seahawks. He's the one going to be facing the pass rush. Aztec says Bears versus Pats, brought to you by Revolving Nail Polish. Eduardo says, happy birthday, Grant. Mine is on Saturday. Is it too much to ask for a win from the Niners? Maybe. Well, we're gonna try to help him out here. Happy birthday, man. Appreciate you. Happy birthday, says McLovin. Thank you. 38 years old. Everything hurts. You know why everything hurts? You know why I'm aging so quickly? You know why Kyle Shanahan's aged 20 years in the last 10? Electoral substation. Have you guys seen this? I think you probably have. Chase Sr. brought it up a couple months ago on Twitter, and then it's gotten new life on Instagram and Twitter. And It's interesting and intriguing, but, like, there's not a lot of evidence. So, I don't really have an opinion on it. Just so the background, the Niners have been training at this facility in Santa Clara since, like, 1988. They moved their stadium down there in 2014. Right around that time, they became perennially, one of the most injured teams in the league, and their injuries are often soft tissue stuff. Like, they've had, like, 18 hamstring injuries this year. Kittle just, tore his Achilles, Bosa, ACL twice since he's been in the league with the Niners. I mean, there's a lot of evidence. Not evidence, but, like, examples. The Niners, it's a consistent issue, and they're the biggest offenders, and they have no, they found no explanation. So this pops up, and there's not a lot of, like, science behind it. But my thing is, like, what if what if George Kittle believes it's true? He's your team. He just tore his Achilles. What if he now thinks it's true? What if the locker room think that there's something to it? What if it's a real thing with the players? And I'll take it a step further. They'll probably never prove that it has a direct causation or even a correlation with these injuries, but they probably won't disprove it either. And that means it's going to come down to what individual players think. And it also means that it might have an impact. And so, as long as this is an issue year after year, game after game, and you can't find the issue, and there's a 0.01% chance that this is a factor, why even chance it? You're worth $8 billion. You sell off a portion of your team every 3 months. I mean, you could cash out $500 million whenever you want just by selling another portion of the team. I mean, player safety and it's not just player safety for the sake of player safety, right? It's like this is negatively impacting your ability to win the Super Bowl. It's a great story this year. And if the Niners fall short, everyone will talk about how this was one of the greatest seasons in franchise history and one of the greatest coaching jobs we've ever seen because of all the injuries and what they've had to overcome. Like, eventually, that's got to not be the story anymore. They got to find a way to not be that team and just be like average when it comes to injuries and stuff. So, what if George Kittle thinks it's this and he's like, you know what? I think we should move. I wouldn't do it for him, but what if they just experimented next year with doing training camp somewhere else? What if they did training camp in Rockland where they used to do it, up by Sacramento, or in Redwood City, or in Alameda? What if they moved over to Alameda, where the Raiders used to have their facility, and did training camp there for a year? What if there suddenly were way fewer hamstring injuries? Maybe you just figured something out. Or maybe the issue persists. I'm just saying, like, it's a variable. You have this huge electrical substation right there. We don't know if it has an impact. You could assume it doesn't, but the fact that the Niners have had this issue year after year for like 13 years in a row, maybe this is one variable you want to look into. Maybe have training camp. I mean, what's the big deal about having training camp? A lot of teams have destination training camps. The Raiders used to have training camp in Napa every year. That's not where their facility is. Move your training camp to UCLA. The Cowboys go do it in where? Ventura, California. It's worth a shot. This is an interesting topic too because it feels very like politically coded. If you're left wing, you're going to be like, this is hocus pocus. And if you're right wing, you're going to be like, this is intriguing. And people just kind of argue back and forth. And really, they're really just arguing their political biases or whatever. I'm not a very political person. And I find this interesting because it triggers so many people. But if I were worth $10 billion and my team was always the most injured team in the league and this was there, I would move. Even if it is hocus pocus. Like, I don't need it. I'm rich enough to not have to worry about that. Jed's rich enough to not have that be an issue. Even if it's not an issue. All right. I want to shout out my new sponsor, AG1. I got a lot of sponsorships on this channel, but this one is really good for your health and wellness. And I'm on a big health and wellness kick. I like to go to the gym. I cover athletes for a living, and I want to make sure that if the Niners ever have so many Achilles injuries and ACL injuries that they need a 38-year-old wide receiver, that I'm available. I talked to Ricky Pearsall today. We discussed beards. He said that it's important to get a beard foam. So I got my beard taken care of. Now I got to get my nutrition taken care of. And that's where AG1 comes in. This is the kind of stuff that the Niners take. You think these guys are professional football players waking up drinking coffee first thing in the morning? No. They're taking care of their bodies, because your body is a temple. And these professional athletes understand that. And so does AG1. I mean, let me just tell you what's on the back. This is what daily support for energy, gut health, and digestion, stress, and mood balance. Don't I seem like I'm in a better mood all the time? Because I am. Brain and nerve function, immune health, healthy aging. Look at me. I don't look a day older than 37. Nutrient replenishment, and it's free of GMOs. I don't know what those are, but I hate them. Gluten, dairy and lactose, or lactose. It could be lactose. Eggs or peanuts. Thank God. Animal byproducts, artificial sweeteners, 500 herbicides and pesticides. None of them are in here. AG1. All you do, 8 ounces of cold water in the morning, 1 scoop of this, drink it before you have any coffee on an empty stomach, and instantly you're going to feel better. There is no right time for better health. The time is now. AG1 is the easiest and most impactful habit you can implement this year. And if I want my viewers implementing healthy habits, okay? AG1 has over 50,000 verified 5-star reviews and comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Go to drinkag1.com/Cohn to get their best offer. For a limited time only, get a free AG1 duffel bag and free AG1 welcome kit with your first subscription order. Only while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/Cohn. drinkag1.com/Cohn. I'm just saying, like, this is premium stuff. It's not, if you go anywhere else, it's going to be expensive. You're going to want that promo code, and you're going to want to start living a healthy lifestyle. All right. We're getting older, guys. We've been doing this since the pandemic. All right. And I want to make sure that all of us are aging gracefully. Okay. Let's check out that AG1. All right. Now let's help the 49ers. Now that we're all healthy, let's help the 49ers beat the Seahawks. Let's start with Robert Saleh. So I was really hard on Robert Saleh for his game plan against the Seahawks. And I thought I was justified in the sense that he played his safeties like 15 yards off the ball. He never really loaded the box consistently. Here and there, he let the Seahawks run for like 180 yards. He let them have the ball for like 40 minutes. He really let them control the game. That being said, they scored 13 points. So it's hard to say Saleh completely scrapped the defensive game plan that limited this defense to 13 points when you didn't have Mykel Williams or Nick Bosa or Fred Warner. It's a little hard to say that. And I think the reason he likes this game plan against Sam Darnold is for a few reasons. One, that offense is not good in the red zone because Sam Darnold isn't good in the red zone. And they don't like their one dynamic weapon, Jackson Smith and Jigba, is more of like an explosive deep threat than a red zone guy. So if you let him go down the field and just tighten up in you can probably hold him to field goals, which is what the Niners have done in 2 games against this team. So that makes sense. But at the same time, so I guess you could say, the Niners would win time of possession if the offense could just convert some third downs. So we'll talk about that. That's part of it. But I also feel like Saleh has to pick some spots to be more aggressive. I looked at the numbers, and he's smart, and I get why he's doing what he's doing. If you look up Sam Darnold's passer rating against man-to-man coverage, because I was thinking, man, you got to play man. His pass rating against man-to-man coverage is like 115 this year. And his pass rating against zones like 93. So I get it. Zone, you really don't need arm talent. It's much more processing and anticipation, which isn't really Sam Darnold's game. He's got a really nice arm. So if you play man to man, he can spot the matchup that he wants and make the throws. But okay, so let's start it like this. Robert, you got to play it in the box. You can't let Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. I mean, Kenneth Walker's really good, but Zach Charbonnet is a one-cut bruising goal line back who can catch passes. I like him. He went to UCLA, but you just shut down Saquon Barkley in the sense that you held him to 4 yards of carry and you didn't let him score. That should be your goal here. You should treat Sam Darnold with as little respect as you treated Jalen Hurts. You wanted to put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands, and you did. You got to do the same thing with Sam Darnold here. He's a better passer than Jalen Hurts, but he has one wide receiver. Cooper Kupp isn't beating man-to-man coverage. See, that's the thing. If you play 8 in the box and turn these 5.5, 6-yard runs into 4-yard runs, that's huge. And then on third down, like you could play zone on first and second, I suppose, but on third down, if you brought a little bit of pressure and you played man-to-man coverage, I kind of think you have the DBs to pull it off. I mean, I know you like playing zone because you don't want to give up explosive plays, and you're more prone to give those up when you're playing man-to-man coverage than zone. But doesn't your personnel factor into it a little bit as well, the decision of what to play? When you're playing zone coverage, isn't it nice to have a bunch of playmakers in the secondary? Guys who play with instincts and vision and can break early on passes and intercept them. I mean, isn't that one of the biggest? Yeah, you're not giving up explosive plays, but ideally you're not giving up explosive plays and you're making plays on the ball because you have 11 sets of eyes on the quarterback, as opposed to man-to-man coverage where you have people with their back to the quarterback chasing receivers around the field. Well, your defense is terrible at intercepting passes. You don't have playmakers in the secondary. Lenore's one, but Renardo Green isn't one. He's good. He's a good man-to-man coverage corner. He can break up passes, but he intercepted none this year. He has 1 interception in 2 years. Malik Mustafa, not a big ball hawk. Marquise Siegel, not a big ball hawk. Upton Stout, not yet. It's Lenore, and that's it. But what every cornerback on this team can do is cover man-to-man. Upton Stout can do it. Lenore can do it. Renardo Green can do it. And it's not like there's any matchup other than JSN that you're worried about. JSN has the advantage in every matchup against Green, against Lenore, against Stout. But Cooper Kupp is scaring no one, and he's slow. AJ Barner is fine. He's okay. And the Niners aren't particularly good at covering tight ends. We've seen it week in and week out. So they got to account for him. But this team has one wide receiver. And the running backs, they're okay. They're not going to run routes. They might catch a swing pass or a screen. But there's not a lot going on. You could bracket JSN on third down, play bump and run coverage, try to slow him down, and with the safety over the top and one-on-one the rest of the field, and make Sam Darnold try to consistently beat you throwing a Cooper Kupp. I like those odds. But then again, Salah say, hey, well, we did it my way. We held them to 13 points. Well, I don't know that your offense is talented enough to go, to convert 50% of their third downs against this defense. That may not happen. You may need to help the offense. You may need to get off the field. You're on your own. And that's where I think being a little bit more aggressive. I understand if you were playing the Rams. I wouldn't really feel great playing man-to-man coverage against the Rams because can you cover Puka Nacua? They have multiple tight ends that you can't cover. And Matthew Stafford will kill you. He has the arm to make incredible throws down the field to guys like Tutu Atwell. So I could see against the Rams being more conservative and playing zone and hoping he just checks it down. But it's Darnold, man. You want to put the game in Darnold's hands. You didn't do that. Darnold hasn't thrown a pick yet this year against you, Robert. He does it against everyone else. And yes, you only gave up 13 points, but again, Purdy threw a pick, and he's probably going to throw at least one pick in this game just because that's what he does. And the Seahawks defense is so good. He's going to be under pressure like he wasn't against Philly. He's going to have to throw quick with anticipation to spots, and he gets in trouble when he does that, especially against Mike McDonald. So you have to figure that Purdy's going to throw one, which is okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it is what it is. So you got to be aggressive. You got to force Sam Darnold to be Sam Darnold. You let him be. Who was he? I mean, you let him be some game manager. He completed 75% of his throws, no touchdowns, no picks. Kept the chains moving, didn't do too much. You can't let him do that. You got to bring out the inner mess, the inner, screw up. And Sam Darnold, he knows it. I mean, you got rid of him. You could have inherited Sam Darnold. You didn't want him. You know the deal. He knows the deal. Don't show him respect. Don't let the two running backs beat you again. Don't let Zach Sharp. What did Zach Charbonnet do? This cannot happen. Zach Charbonnet. What were your numbers last time you faced the 49ers? 17 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. Can't happen. He also had three catches for 23 yards. He had 97 yards from scrimmage. Zach Charbonnet. Can't happen. Their offense is the threat of JSN and their two running backs who are not as good as the running back you just shut down. So you got to be a little bit more aggressive, just hanging back and letting the Seahawks get in the red zone and letting Sam Darnold mess up there. You're still probably going to lose. It'll just be a low scoring loss. You got to force a turnover. You got to pressure Darnold. You got to rush 5 sometimes. You got to play some man-to-man coverage. You got to take some risks because your offense is going to make mistakes. You got to force some mistakes. Your offense is going to make some mistakes. It's going up against arguably the best defense in the league. Definitely the best defense in the NFC. And you've seen what Brock threw two picks in the first game, 1 pick in the second. It's going to happen unless Kyle Shanahan calls a Jimmy G safety first game plan, which he won't. He won't, because that won't be enough. Or maybe it will. I haven't told him what's going to happen yet, what to do. He's waiting with bated breath. Grant, tell me how to beat this team. Yes, we already made our game plan, but we're going to shred it up and start over tonight once you tell us. Yeah, all right, Kyle. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Or, no, we can just do it right now. How about okay, Kyle's game plan. So, here's the problem with facing the Seahawks. They absolutely destroyed Christian McCaffrey 2 weeks ago. He couldn't run the ball. He couldn't do anything as a receiver. And I think it's fair to assume that the Niners won't be able to run the ball in this game, considering they won't have George Kittle. And I think statistically, they're at least a yard per carry. There's a difference of a yard per carry with him on and off the field, or in games that he doesn't play. They're about 4 yards per carry with him on the field and 3 with him not on the field. I could look it up, but I think it's about that stark. So forget the run game. They have a historically great run defense. You don't have your best blocker. Trent Williams will be there, but you're not running the ball. This, to me, needs to be the type of game plan that Kyle had when he faced the Rams week 5. That was back when the Rams defense was good, and the Niners couldn't run the ball at all. But they won the game throwing a lot. That was the game they went to overtime, and Mac Jones threw 49 passes. And they only scored 26 points. It wasn't an offensive masterclass. They scored 23 in regulation. But they didn't just constantly set themselves up in 2nd and 8. If they have that kind of game plan where they're trying to run on first down, it'll be 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11 a lot. And I think this is the game to have that Mac Jones game plan of a pass is as good as a run. Short throws are like extended handoffs. And you got to get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quickly. You didn't have to do that against Philly. I don't know what was going on, but Philly's pass rush didn't come to play. I mean, there was a big throw to DeMarcus Robinson on the second play of the game. Like the Brock Purdy was able to hold the ball, manipulate the defense in the secondary with his eyes, and make throws down the field. He was not able to do that against the Seahawks because they have a pass rush. And it's going to be supercharged because they're rested and they're on turf and they have crowd noise and they're all that. So you got to anticipate. And Kyle's so good at this. When he really knows this is the game, we've seen him do it for years. He did it for Jimmy. He did it for Mac. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly all night. This is of all the games, Purdy has to be the most Mac Jones-ish. You're not running away from this. You can't hold the ball a long time against the Seahawks. And what sucks about them is they're also like the best tackling team in the league. And in this last game, it's felt like no one broke a tackle, not Christian. So if you know you're not going to get explosive plays down the field, you don't have the time. You don't have the time because of the pass rush, and you don't have the receivers really. You're not Demarcus Robinson isn't going for 111 against Seattle. He's going to do kind of what he did like a couple of weeks ago where he did nothing. So you're not getting big plays. You're not getting yak. You're not getting the deep throw. What do? Well, isn't Brock Purdy good enough to execute long drives in this offense? Mac Jones is. I think Brock is. So it seems to me like now you got to embrace all of these short throws and receivers who can keep the chains moving. Forget yards after the catch. Just give me guys who can catch the ball. Doesn't that make Jake Tonjes really key for this matchup? He's not explosive. He's not going to catch balls 20 yards down the field, and he's not going to break tackles or get you a lot after the catch. He's just going to catch the ball about 8 yards down the field. A throw to Jake Tonjes on first down puts you in 2nd and 2. Then you hand it off to Christian McCaffrey. It seems like instead of forcing the ball to wide receivers who are outmatched by the cornerbacks they're faced off against, throw it to the fullback. Throw it to the tight end. It's got to be, to me, this has to be a Brock Purdy game. And it's how many times can you throw the ball without turning it over? The running game is beating your head against the wall. The only reason to hand the ball off is because you're afraid that Brock Purdy's going to throw a pick or to kill clock. So you can run it here just to keep the defense honest. Try to have them, not be so predictable, but you got to pass a lot. If Brock Purdy can throw the ball 49 times, if he can throw the ball 40 times without throwing a pick, they'll win. But I don't know if he can do it. But Kyle, that's what you need to do. I don't know if there's any way that you can work around this. You can't run the ball. You're not going to run through Seattle to win this game. And I don't think you're going to get a touchdown pass from Jawan Jennings in this game or from Christian McCaffrey. It's got to be Brock. And I know people are like, you know what? That win over the Eagles justifies the contract and cements him as the best. Maybe it does. Maybe that's a precursor to what he's going to do in Seattle. But if he's truly elite, then he's going to go into Seattle and show it because he should be way better than Sam Darnold. We already know what Sam Darnold's going to do in this game. He's going to try to not mess it up. Brock's got to go up there and win it. Fortunately, he has Christian McCaffrey, who's still the best receiver out of the backfield in the league, and he has some players. But he's got to be smart. He can't be greedy. He's got to not force the ball over the middle. He's got to stay ahead of the chains. He's got to complete a high percentage of his passes. He's got to throw a lot of passes, and he's got to not throw a pick. Can you do that? On the flip side, the Niners need to put Darnold in the same freaking position. No, we're not going to let you hand it off 40 times. No, we don't respect you. We want you throwing 40 times because if you do, we think you're going to throw 2 picks at least. That's Darnold. Is that your attitude about Brock? This is the week, man. You know you're not running against Seattle. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Fortunately, your running back is better running routes than running the ball. So extended handoffs to Christian McCaffrey. Go back and look at what your offense looked like week 5. You had no George Kittle in that game, no Ricky, no George, no explosiveness. You had Kendrick Bourne and a dream, and you pulled it off. There's no reason you can't do that in this game. Those short throws will be available. They're playing zone coverage. They want you to check it down. So check it down. I guess I'm talking more to Brock here than Kyle. I think Kyle knows what to do. The question is, do you believe that you can pull it off with Brock? Because the way he calls games with Brock has usually been not a ton of passes, 26 to 35. Limit the exposure that Brock Purdy has with the defense. And if you do that, he'll give you some big plays. He makes your offense more explosive. It's kind of like young Russell Wilson. He made that offense so much better, but it was still a Marshawn Lynch production. And once Marshawn Lynch got old and it was like, all right, let's let Russ cook, you can't do it. The Niners are going to need Brock to cook in this game. You got to be a lot better than Darnold, because you haven't yet in this matchup. In fact, Darnold has put up better numbers against the Niners this year than Brock has put up against the Seahawks, which isn't fair. Brock's facing a good defense and Darnold's facing no pass rush. A great coordinator, but no pass rush. No playmakers. Brock's got to step it up. What you did against the Eagles was legendary. And your whole playoff resume is fantastic. And if you go up into Seattle and win this one, now we're starting to talk about some serious all-time wins. I mean, if he can go into Seattle the week after going into Philly, win that game, bring this team back to the Super Bowl and win it, I mean, now we're talking Hall of Fame stuff. Not to get too far, but like, this resume is getting serious. But you got to beat Seattle. And it's going to be on you, man. Christian's not going to bring you to the finish line here. Chances are Robert Saleh isn't going to hold the Seahawks to 13 points for the third game in a row. It's on you, Brock. And the thing is, if it's 7-7 late in the game, if it's 27-27 late in the game, if it's a one-score game late in the game, I'm taking Brock. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Siegfried says Niners game was the most viewed game this weekend. True. I think Bears-Packers being on Amazon Prime probably hurt it, because not everyone has that. But I'm telling you, Niner people like watching the Niners. Jay the Pro says, hey, Grant, what are your thoughts, Fred Warner? I started with that. I'm a little skeptical that he's actually going to come back, but I think it's cool that he's pressing the issue. Isaiah Sanchez says, Grant, don't be that guy. There's bad calls and no calls every game. That roughing the passer on us was pretty bad, for real. Can I be that guy for just one day? Can I ask you guys? Can I ask the audience if how many of you, raise your hand if you thought that the NFL was propping up the Chiefs? Of you people, do you think that they're not doing that anymore, or that there's a new team? Because it ain't the Chiefs. If there's a new team, who is it? I just want to know. What do you guys think? Because this was like a huge thing in the discourse last year. Aztec says, now that you're 38, some advice. Those farts, a lot more tricky to discern. Maybe a shart in disguise. Tread carefully, my friend. Thank you for telling me that. Oof. It is your birthday, says Kane fan. It is. Hog says, how are ex-Niners injuries once they leave? Happy birthday, bro. I don't know. It's a good question. Stephen Draper says, I'd take AG1, Grant. Can I get a discount? Yeah. Use promo code Cohn. Use the link in the description. See? People know about AG1. AG1 stops soft tissue injuries, says Aru Illustri. Possible. Maybe the Niners should be taking AG1. Andrew Hatley says, put the game in Darnold's hands like with Jimmy G. I think you gotta. Aztec says, UCLA for practice. Isn't that USC's parking lot? Wow. Wish. Aztec says, soft film breakdown on Siegel. Dude was great. He is key. Yeah, he is good. Jair, you're done. Dai Lang says, happy birthday, Grant. Do you think, thank you, Kyle has grown from relying on his toys, giving D. Robinson spotlight, or even the screen to Sky was unlike him? Maybe. Maybe. I think Kyle Shanahan wanted to prove that Quinyon Mitchell isn't good. And I don't know why he felt that way. And the reason I say that is that Richard Sherman was saying it all week. Richard Sherman's a big fan of me. Shout out to Richard. Loves my work. He was going on and on and on last week randomly that Quinyon Mitchell isn't good. All pro. And his reasoning was he doesn't intercept passes. So second play of the game, Kyle Shanahan goes right after Quinyon Mitchell, then does it again on the same drive. Almost makes me feel like Richard Sherman's, got some sources in the building and he had a tip off that the Niners game plan was to go after Quinyon Mitchell and show the world how little they respect him. Cool. Then he picked off 2 passes. Nice. Maybe don't do that again. If there was any question whether Quinyon Mitchell is the truth, the Niners answered that question. Yes, he is. You wanted to find out? You found out. Thank goodness it didn't end your season because what? And what's funny is, Quinyon Mitchell gave up those catches in the first drive, and Richard Sherman, who, again, is a big fan of me and my work, what I do, was taking victory laps on Twitter. He blocked me, but I could still see that. He blocked me years ago. I don't know why he blocked me. Is it because I said he was washed? But maybe it's because I said he was washed. Maybe it's not personal. Maybe he just doesn't like my content. In which case, that hurts my feelings. But I don't think that Kyle Shanahan looks at some DB. Well, maybe Tariq Woolen. He doesn't respect Tariq Woolen. He thinks of Tariq Woolen what he thinks of Quinyon Mitchell, maybe worse. But I don't know that the Niners are going to have the time to actually go down the field and target him. We'll see. That's the guy. Harley says, yo, Grant, love the channel and all the content you put out. They got to go in with B-Rob. Rather put wear on him than McCaffrey. It's true. He runs so much harder than McCaffrey. You might need him. 7 Dennis says, thank God for quality control. Pops is proud. Tyler Barden says, happy birthday, Grant. Where you going to dinner? My brother's house. I was going to do a whole thing on Friday, but now I got to go to Seattle. So I'll do like a dinner thing next week. DJ Noe Gomez says, happy birthday, bro. Keep eating them great Mexican burritos for us, man. Go Niners. Well, thank you, DJ. Appreciate that. And I will. That Tone 6 says, do Niners have waiver priority for Darrell Taylor? I don't know. But why would you pick up Darrell Taylor when you could just keep playing Keon White? I mean, the Niners have the guys. They got the guys. All right. I got the picks right here. Let's make some picks. Hold on. NFL. There we go. Niners. There we go. Oh, wait. It's been happening to me. This is from the last stream. Okay. All right. Sam Darnold, 239.5 passing yards, more or fewer. Fewer. It's Darnold. Brock Purdy, 230.5 passing yards, more or fewer. Oh, my God. I'm going to say fewer. I don't think he's got it in him, man. Not to be a hater, but that's a real serious defense. Christian McCaffrey, 57.5. No, not against Seattle. Kenneth Walker, 56.5. Went for 97 against the Niners. 56.5. Yeah, I think he will. What about Charbonnet? 46.5. I think Salah's going to do what he did last time. Purdy. No. Receiving. Tonjes, man. 35.5 for Tonjes. More. Bingo. You already know. Had to go Tonjes. Those are my picks. Purdy, McCaffrey, Tonjes, Kenneth Walker, Darnold, and Charbonnet. Flexing it. Submitting it. No, I'm not submitting it yet. Let me put down $500. $500. Oh, yeah. Put my money where my mouth is to win $12,500 if I get it all right. What if I power played it? Oh, my God. I'm not doing that, though. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy, just like the Niners can't be greedy. Those are my picks. Download Prize Picks yourself. Play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN. All right, guys. That's it. I'm going to go celebrate my birthday. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Solo Talks at 9:30 in the morning, so I'm going to catch the train over there early. Haven't figured out my streaming schedule. Have to talk to some people. Confirm it. We'll see. But I'll stream. I got sponsors. Zoomort says, happy birthday, Grant. Do you think Seattle's defense is going to keep the same game plan? I mean, I think they're going to keep the same principles. 5-man front, five or six DBs, never base defense, never 8-man front, shutting down your run game with the split safety look and a nickel defense. That's kind of the kryptonite for Kyle Shanahan. Let's see if he can figure out a way to beat that without George Kittle. Maybe Ricky Pearsall comes back and saves the day. I went up to Ricky Pearsall in the locker room today. Asked him something really important. I got an exclusive with Ricky. This is breaking news. This was on the record. I said, can I ask you for some beard advice? He was like, yeah, man. What do you want to know? And I was like, well, how do you make your beard look so nice? And he was like, well, George Kittle helped me. He said that you need to use a beard shampoo. And then I said, but I don't like George's beard. I think it looks scraggly. And he's like, well, he battles scraggliness, scragglification. But this shampoo descragglifies it. And I had to say that if you notice, Richard does have a very, I mean, it looks like a very soft beard. Not that I can't, I haven't felt it. And I don't think that I will. I'm pretty certain that I won't. But I told him I don't want a scraggly beard. I don't want to look like George Kittle when I'm 39 years old or 38. And he said, me neither. You know, who would want to look like, I'm just kidding. But I don't like George's beard. It's too much. I'm more of a Ricky Pearsall beard kind of guy. But I got to say, Ricky gave all the credit to George. Despite George's scraggliness, Ricky has lusciousness. And you know what? That's teamwork. So, exclusive. I got that scoop. Beard shampoo is what he recommended. You're only going to get that here, man. I ask the questions that everyone's afraid to ask. No nonsense. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Shout out to Richard Sherman, too. Big fan.